All right, everybody, welcome to the SG3 Trio, man. We are here to talk about Summoner's Glory every week, different topics, to hang out with you guys, just another platform. So welcome. I am joined today by the Higher Standard and MBW77. Say hello, guys.
Yo.
Yo, 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 Higher Standard.
All right. So the events and things you're about to see are real, but one of the faces have been changed to protect the innocent.
Yes.
Yes, and that picture of me in the screen there is an accurate depiction. That's pretty much what I look like in my ordinary life. And
He likes really big hats.
And he dresses up on the
And
weekend.
wears dresses.
I have Merlin powers as well, so please don't freaking nerf me.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about weapons today, and I'll let Higher Standard give you the nitty-gritty on what that's going to entail.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to have the Takmir's Palace weapon box open, and we're going to go through each of those weapons, kind of discuss what the skills are, whether or not they should be good or should not be good, and then show you some runs with us actually testing the weapons. Now, to test this, what I did was I farmed Takmir's Palace for a couple days. I got every weapon out of there. I skilled it, maxed it all the way up to 24, and I did not mess with any of the substats because that would have been too expensive. But I wanted to kind of see what each of the weapons can do in Takmir's Palace. I have my own opinions for sure, but don't let my opinions sway you. The whole point of this is to get together, kind of come up with a community list of what weapons are good or which ones are crap. And we want to pass this on to the developers because right now, the way I look at it, there's about 3 or 4 weapons that are decent. There's one that's great, and all the rest of them are utter crap.
Yeah, I concur with that. And as we go through them, once we've talked about what they do and their status currently in the meta, we're also going to throw out some ideas of ways we think they could be made relevant, like a cool idea that would make somebody want to use this over the 2 or 3 options there are available right now. So, Higher Standard, why don't you take us into this list?
Okay, so at the end of this, we're definitely going to do a tier list. We would like input from everybody that's in attendance, but there's some clear winners and some clear losers, and we can start off with a loser right off the bat, which is Guard Axe. It looks cool when you level them up to 24. These weapons get new skins. They really look shiny. They look cool. But as players of the game, we need to demand more than just pretty little things to look at.
Especially if carrying that pretty little thing does nothing for you.
Yeah, we want these weapons to actually do something. And if you're going to have a game with this many weapons, they should actually do something. So, MBW, if you want to go through the skills, we'll let you go ahead and tell us what the first skill is.
Right, we have got Violent Strike level 1. Attacks one enemy, deals 200% physical damage, and mocking them for 2 turns.
Right, so let's talk about the 200% physical damage. In a instance like Takmir's Palace, when you have a character that essentially has really bad gear, like most of us, because most of us are leveling up 2-stole gold gear and getting as many subs as possible, this thing hits for negative damage. And the idea that it somehow gives a mocking skill, which is the next skill, makes this thing kind of offensive. It attacks one enemy and deals 280% physical damage and mocking them for 4 turns. All right, so now we have 2 skills that say we're going to mock you. Okay. The next one is if the target is affected by mockery, 10% of the current life is converted to its own health. 10%. So it's going to hit for negative damage. It's going to heal for even more negative damage. This thing is an absolute atrocious weapon. And the last thing is when it's being attacked, there's a 50% chance of counterattacking and doing another wet noodle attack. Absolutely to start us off, it's not the worst tier in the game because that is reserved for one special weapon, which I have real solid thoughts about. But there's only one weapon that's going to be in the B tier, and this is not it.
Definitely not.
My opinion is this is going to be in the A column, And we can show a video, NBF, if you want to pull up a video of this thing kind of trying to wreck Tekmir's Palace. It really is.
It's on the.
We're not going to let you watch. We're not going to. I posted all of the videos of all the weapons in the SG Trio Discord. Go and watch the whole thing if you want to, but you know, MB, if you want to pull up the Guard Axe video,
just gonna bring it up.
You guys can see it. Just see how worthless this thing is.
I think the best quality of this weapon is it resembles one of the weapons from the most recent Zelda game, Breath of the Wild. It gives me that vibe to it, so that's its own redeeming quality for me.
Yeah, look, the designs of these games are really nice, and then the weapons, the fact that they glow a different way when you level them up that's some next level details. But you would think that the next level details would actually carry over into something that you could use in the game. So.
Correct. But the scalings have changed, or the weapons have been ignored, and that's why the tier list is in the state that it's in.
Right, now, I can tell you guys that I actually, on my main, I've leveled up gold 4-stat gear, that's red 6-star, and I've used these weapons as well. And as Rexian said, it's pretty much used for smelting stones. Oxlane, I think you're absolutely right. If it had an AoE taunt to place mockery, and then it reduced damage when it was mocked, I think that would be brilliant.
I'll touch on that when we get to, after we review the weapon. I'll touch on what they need to do to make it better.
This is it, Guard Axe. That's what we're on in it. I've got it.
Yeah, that's it. All right, so just so you guys know, this is now the hardest. It's going to go. The third boss in Tekmir's Palace is by far the hardest. It's that red witch that we see from Guild Boss, and we also see from
a different version of it in Witch Swamp.
Yeah. All right, so you can see this thing is a nice looking weapon. Look how it shines. It's
double blade is really nice.
That's the only thing it does.
It's really pretty. But it doesn't do anything.
Right. The effect looks like you're going to just pile drive something in the ground, and then it's like, did it do anything? Nah.
Right. Exactly. And so, if you like a pretty character, you can roll around with this thing, and it looks great.
That's something Rexian had used.
Now, look. Yeah. So the designs of these weapons are great. What the developers need to do is actually make them worthwhile. And so I have these speed tunes, so you're going to be able to see the weapons attack at least once, but they just don't do anything. See, they add that little mockery thing to it, but it really doesn't do anything because the mockery allows them to counterattack or for the character to do more damage. Who cares about the character? I mean, the character is there for two things: to cast enchantments and to allow a weapon to have debuffs. So this is not going to be it. We don't have to watch the whole thing.
And the way block is worded, it's like they're going to get health back because you've got a mocked, which would insinuate the mocking should be a pretty powerful, debuff if they're going to be healing their health back. Now, to make this weapon relevant, this weapon should make the summoner into a small version of King Arthur. This weapon should allow you to lock down an enemy in case you have somebody like Fire Thief who's more squishy, right? You should be able to stack defensive, a different set of armor on your character, run this, and then you can lock that enemy down to fighting just your Phantom, right? He's not able to use any of his crazy abilities because he's just fighting your Phantom Master, right? This should turn you into a mini Arthur, but it doesn't do a damn thing. And because character scaling, the character really doesn't do much damage even if you stack character crit rate. It's there for looks only. It gives you no value, especially as soon as you compare it to the number one weapon on this list.
So I think it's confirmed. That's filed under B for bin.
Yeah, well, no, it's A for awful.
Yeah. So I like that it counterattacks, but the fact that damage, you add up all the damage your Phantom Master does over the course of the fight with this axe, it doesn't even equate to 1/10 of one punch from Puppet.
Right. And Oxling's right. It actually displays the taunt debuff. That's because they don't have a mocking debuff.
Right.
And thank God, because the mocking debuff would be hilarious.
And we talk all the time about new strategies being needed in the game, right? Not just the meta, just different ways of combating things. This is the weapon that should be used if you were able to do a go second defensive style fight, like to keep the focus on your Phantom Master and off your other things, you know, so you could have that more like, okay, I'm going to become a giant wall of defense to allow something else to happen. But the scaling of the game does not allow that.
Right. And so it really doesn't help you in these fights. I'm really kind of disappointed with this weapon. You know, Gru, I thought that it doesn't seem to be doing that, because with some of these weapons that we're going to be looking at later, it actually is applying the abilities. And so I have the accuracy up really high on my character, and it still just doesn't work. You can see that the mockery debuff is working. It just doesn't do anything, and it doesn't hit hard enough to matter. So, that's one thing that we should, definitely get across to the developers is you're going to have a pretty thing in the game. The pretty thing should work. Like that pentagon circle in the middle of Kaeja, that thing should do something. That thing.
It looks like it should summon Diablo, but it's just basically a graffiti on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I go there to summon just because I think it's one of the coolest spots in the game, but it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, which is disappointing. Like, the only thing that happens there is one of the story fights, Jester floats right above it, and Jester's stupid looking anyway.
Exactly. So
a theme between this weapon and some of the others we're going to mention is that, in general, I think that if a weapon does damage to a single target by the character, it should be a substantial, noticeable hit, with only to one target. So it's not overpowered, but it matters. Because there's a lot of fights where you get down to one thing where you're fighting this one tanky boss left, but most of the things that you brought in are AoE based. And so you're just chipping away, but it's got an effect that, lets it just keep healing itself little by little, and you're not really making any headway. Well, being able to do single target damage with your character that's actually noticeable would help a lot.
Agreed. So what's the next weapon on the list there, Andy?
2 seconds. Are we going down or across? Magic Eye Staff.
Going across.
Yeah, Magic Eye Staff is the next one.
Okay, so I was actually pleasantly surprised by this one, because I hadn't used it since the game started, and I forgot what it did. And maybe it's changed and maybe it didn't. But this thing actually gives a random ally an extra turn. So if it gives your ally an immediate extra turn. So if this thing gives your Bloody Overlord the turn, he immediately goes into his debuff and attack. And so this Magic Eye staff is definitely next tier away from that Guard Axe. I mean, it's a solid S tier weapon, and when you see the videos, you'll actually see what I'm talking about. So if you wanna read the skills there, MB?
Yeah, you've got the stun missile level 1, attacks one enemy and deals 100% magic damage with a 35% chance of stunning them for one turn.
Right, so anytime you can stun these characters, it's good. They've done away with this immunity thing they did for the Ghost Vault update, where everyone...
Oh, God. Immune Draculas.
So, yeah, it's nice that they've actually decided to be creative in the development, because before it was like, oh gosh, everybody's too strong for us. I know, make everybody immune. And then we'll just get rid of all the mechanics in the game.
There was a time when all SG players feared Dracula more than anything itself. Like, I'd rather be in a Shark Tank than fight these Draculas. Like, you aggro one and you scream, no, I'm going to lose. Because you just knew you were dead.
No, Joey and I have videos where, like, if you don't want to embarrass yourself on a video, don't hit a Dracula, because you're going to die.
Yeah.
So the next skill, it heals one ally. Who cares, right? If you're getting healed, you're probably dying anyway. So healing on a weapon to me is not that impressive. But anyway, heals one ally, restores HP, 100% of the character's magic attack, and grants them a chance to take action immediately. So that's where the key is. The key is, who cares what it heals you for? Because you're hopefully faster than the people that you're attacking. But what it does is it gives that player a chance to get that character a chance to get an immediate attack. And I tell you, from the run that you're going to see, the chance is pretty high. There was only 2 battles during this video where it did not give a character an extra chance.
And I think we all know which character we would most like to see this work on.
Right.
And she
exactly
begins
right.
with an A.
Yeah. And the last one is that it heals for 200% HP, and it gives that barrier, which reduces HP incoming or whatever. Who cares about that, right? So, I mean, look, some of these skills are kind of useless, but you don't, as Gru's saying, you don't live long enough for heals to matter. So
100%.
But what's really unique about this staff, about this weapon in general, is it gives you that immediate turn. So anyway, if you watch the mechanics of this equipment, it's amazing. Check that out. BO gets an immediate turn. Bye-bye. Game over. Now, mine's speed tuned where he was going to go shortly thereafter anyway.
Correct.
But if yours is not speed tuned and you get that magic proc on your BO, that could save you. That's the difference between winning and losing.
Now, if you'll notice, she on auto that it's running right now, it was just cast on 2 different phantoms. So in any sort of reliability, you'd have to manual with it. But then even on top of manualing, it's still going to be a chance whether it grants the attack or not.
Right, and so I don't play any game where I have to manually. As long as it's landing on Bloody Overlord, sometimes I'm happy.
Right. Just keep in mind that it does require a speed tuning, because if you make the Bloody Overlord get that bonus turn before put a defense down, well, you're not getting the max potential you could be anyway, so...
Right, so I have this thing speed tuned perfectly. What you need clock to go first, then puppet, then your character, and then your 2 DPS, whoever that is. Here
Correct.
I have Bloody Overlord and Dracula. I want Dracula last because most of the time Bloody Overlord can kill everybody. Now, this boss is actually the hardest boss in the game now. You would think that the final boss would be the hardest, but she's actually the hardest. It doesn't look like on this round, but there are other weapons that will make this team look really bad. Okay, so that's the Magic Eye Staff. It's really good. It's definitely an S tier in my opinion.
Right. And the reason it's going into S tier is because there's really not much about it we would change to make it relevant. It's just that it's so outclassed by the best weapon to use that the value you're getting from there, you could be having so much more value elsewhere. So it's not that it's bad, it's just really outclassed by a weapon they made really well.
Yeah, so Pool God, the answer is yes. It procs that skill on auto the first time no matter what. It heals a character and has a chance to give that person an extra turn. So if you find that you just don't have the speed necessary to get the first turn, but your character is faster than the other team, you can use that weapon and try to get it to land on Bloody Overlord and cheat. That's like a cheat code to try to get past harder content.
And one small caveat to that bonus turn is that it does not give you a turn on top of your action bar, right? After you take your turn, you still got to earn an action bar again. So for the sake of Ankaris, you may give her that bonus turn. You're just getting her to the turn she was about to take faster. She still then has to go back through the turn cycle to get to the next action she would take. So
Right.
if you could make them take an action and then still have almost ready for their next one based on their action bar, that'd be broken.
Yeah, so I tested that because I was actually hoping that Ankaris would get the immediate turn and then cycle into her big attack.
Right.
That would be an amazing change.
Oh, 100%.
This weapon could make Ankaris like the best Phantom in the game if they just made that one little tweak.
And then you'd be forced to use King Arthur because King Arthur is the counter to Ankaris.
Yes.
Right.
But I love Ankaris.
Right. There could be some meta changes if they made.
That would make Arena actually fun because you'd be like, okay, who's gonna proc?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Okay. So that was the Magic Eye Staff. So I mean, I think that's a pretty solid kind of weapon.
Yeah, and then we've got the Frost Staff now. And that.
So I'll let J-Town talk about the Frost Staff.
Yeah. Do you want me to read it out, J-Town, for you? Like a little...
I could read it out. I'm pretty good at narrating, even though my face doesn't say it. All right, so next up we have the Frost Staff. All right, it's not bad looking. It looks like something that a summoner character from like Final Fantasy would be holding. So its skills are absolute 0. It attacks one enemy and deals 100% magic damage, reducing their outgoing damage. So it's almost like a mini curse of death. Is it Curse of Death? The enchantment where it makes them do less damage out towards you, which is useful.
Right.
Icicles attacks one enemy and deals 300% magic damage, reducing their speed by 30% for 2 turns. Not bad if you wanted to run control team. Blizzard attacks all enemies, dealing 200% magic damage and a 35% chance to freeze them for 1 turn. Okay, not bad. I'm pretty sure that's the one it leads off with. Cleansing Frost, when attacking, there's a 15% chance of removing all positive status effects from the enemy. Unfortunately, that doesn't include Alice's bullcrap shields.
And just going back real quick to the Magic Eye Staff, because Oxling has a good point. If Ikaris went and then your character went using the Magic Eye Staff and gave Ikaris the next move, yes, she could skip the turn cycling. But the speed tuning associated with that is sort of very complex, and I mean, I'm going to try it because it actually sounds like a great idea.
What don't you try?
But to get that speed tuning that specific is going to be pretty difficult.
And you probably lose a lot of the damage off of Ikaris, and there's also a good chance you're going to get outsped if you're trying that in the arena.
Right, but I would like to try it anyway.
Just as a warning to all you people out there, if Higher Standard brings his Ikaris to the arena, get you a King Arthur. Get you a King Arthur.
Exactly. So if you want to show the Frost Staff video, we don't have to watch much of it. I'll give you a spoiler.
Oh, I'll give him a spoiler.
It's a solid A tier weapon.
Oh, he's gonna spoil it, isn't he? Gonna tell us.
I'm being generous. Yeah, I'm being generous. It actually looks pretty cool when you get to level 24. It's pretty insane. The graphics are just, people say, oh, they're not raid graphics. Yeah, but it's art, so it's in the eye of the beholder.
I think we deserve them.
But the graphics on these weapons look pretty cool. So you can see what it's doing. It's actually landing what it's intended to land. It just doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. It doesn't do any damage. See, it lands what it's supposed to land. It just doesn't help or hurt you. So a weapon that doesn't help or hurt you is not a good weapon. Do you have any thoughts, J-Town, on how to make this one better?
The only things I can think of, based on the way its skills, it's like it wants to be Cold Axe, but plus a slow. But based on the way the game is designed now, where your goal is to get the 1-round kill, it's just, if you want what this does, bring Cold Axe.
Yeah, Cold Axe is better.
The slow is half of what Sea Warrior can do. It feels like it's a lot of investment for nothing, especially when we know what else lies in our tier list. So in order to make it relevant,
it needs to be 100% slow.
It'd just be like a staff version of the Cold Axe, and it would be at least somewhat relevant. Other than that, I cannot, in my head, think of what other effect, based on what it's called, it could do. I mean, Frost is Frost. You freeze or you don't.
Yeah, which is where the Cold Axe sort of like shines in my eyes.
Yeah, if you need to freeze something, there's Cold Axe and nothing else.
That thing is a beast.
I would like to see that it would, like, possibly have a smaller slow buff, or maybe keep the speed buff it's got, but stackable with something like Sea Warrior to make full control teams a thing. Like the slow kill, but you can effectively give your enemy 0 turn.
Right.
Like, that would be cool.
Use this, Sea Warrior, and maybe like Water Elf.
Right, because we lost a little bit of the control aspect with the update.
Yeah.
But the old lockout team isn't as effective anymore. But with this, it would be cool if those stacked. I think the weapon slow and the Sea Warrior slow should stack. Weapon becomes relevant again.
Right. Okay, we don't have to
Let's
watch
go
this.
to the next one.
All right, moving on.
Give me a second.
Moving on. All right, so the next one is the Ruby.
The Ruby Staff.
Yeah, again, it's another one that looks pretty. We can read the skills.
Attacks one enemy and deals 260% magic damage. Forging a magic link when being attacked. 40% damage is redistributed among enemies. The effect lasts until the character's next turn.
So again, that's a stupid skill. It puts a line between you and whatever it attacks, and then it redistributes the minimal damage between everybody else. Why? Why would you do that? It's like reduce it. It's like splash damage reduced. The skill just makes no sense at all. So the next one is it restores HP to 200%, but like we said, and then it has a cleanse. So I guess, in a longer fight, if there was such a thing in this game, having a cleanse would be nice, but you don't need a cleanse. You need to survive the first hit. So a cleanse at this point doesn't really do anything. Does it reflect the damage? I don't think so. I've never seen it actually work where it reflected any damage. J-Town, you ever seen it reflect damage?
No, but I feel like it actually distributes the damage, but I can't tell if it's coming or going just with the scalings.
Well,
just
I can tell you, when we watch the video, you're going to see that it actually looks like it's taking whatever the damage is and it's distributing it amongst the enemies, and not reflecting anything. So I know it's supposed to, but it just doesn't work that way.
A lot of them are supposed to do things that they don't.
Right, and the last skill is again, it's a magic attack. It's doing some healing, and it's a solid A weapon. You want to show a few battles of that?
There you go, the ruby staff.
Again, looks amazing. Absolutely looks amazing. Look at that thing. But it's not a beauty contest,
right?
So it doesn't do anything.
Let's see one of the fights, and then I'll share. I have two ideas for this weapon. One would just make it interesting. One would make it relevant.
But is that J-Town relevant or everybody relevant?
Well, J-Town relevance, what everybody should aspire to be relevant.
I'm not. I'm opposed. I'm opposed on both. No, that's it. I object.
You're opposed. You're just wrong, and we can prove it to you with math.
No. I got my Cold Axe.
More power to you.
I got my Cold Axe. You know I love my Cold Axe.
So I like the way it has that, that magic line, the magic missile in between whatever it attacks. That's kind of a cool effect. If you could see the character melting or something, it'd be better. But
yeah, for sure, 100%.
In fact, that's the weapon that
I think it should do one of two things. It should either absorb the life from that enemy into the character, which is, we all know, if you need that, you're probably going to lose anyway. But I think what would make it relevant is if, when you put that beam on one of the enemies, any damage that enemy took, right, is then just echoed out amongst other things. So effectively turning a single target attack into an AoE. So you could take something, put the line on it, then you could have somebody if they rebalance their Secret Dancer, to put an insane single target crit on somebody and then see that echo out into the other enemies. And that would not only make other team builds more relevant, but this weapon as well.
Or another option would be all the damage that it's taken while the line is attached to that monster gets stored up, and when the line goes away, it does that damage again. Sort of like that one character in Ace, Zetlin.
Yeah. But would you want it to keep it single target or AoE?
AoE.
Single target is fine. It just
okay. Then that would make it relevant as a boss killer.
That's right.
So it's either way they want to take it. You can make it to make single target mobs be able to AoE attack, or you can make it as a boss killing weapon. If you're listening, Lionstale, get on it, because I'm getting excited about all this theory crafting.
Yeah.
Right. So if this thing had a Zetlin type curse ability, I mean, lights out. Everybody would be using this thing against bosses. It'd be awesome.
No, Zetlin's just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, if it stored up all the damage that it took in one round, and then just when it went away, did that damage again, everybody be running this thing. So right now it's an A tier weapon. All right, Ice Dragon Saber.
Everybody knows this one.
It used to be the crowd weapon, the weapon to go to if you were stuck through a boss.
Especially for attack bags.
Right. So in this game, they've actually made accuracy and resistance relevant, and attack bar manipulation can now be resisted. That's why Sea Conqueror is not as good as Clock. And if you've ever watched any of my old videos, you know that that's very, very painful for me to say.
Yeah, he and Sea Conqueror had an affair one day.
Yeah, we had a special thing going for the first year of the game. So, Ice Dragon Saber to me is still one of those weapons that when you get to drop in an instance, you're like, yes.
Yep.
Oh
Definitely.
my gosh.
Yeah.
We used to try to get a crappy one in the Trove.
Yeah, it wasn't a waste. I remember spending thousands upon thousands of diamonds when Ghost Vault opened in Trove trying to get me a Ice Dragon Saber.
Oh, 100%. When we first started doing Ghost Vault carries, the requirements were you had to have 2 Evo 5s and an Ice Dragon Saber of some quality to be taken in there, because otherwise we were going to get destroyed.
Yeah, especially Puppeteer. I don't know how many times she wiped us out going in there. It's only the attack bar control that used to help us.
Yeah, for sure. So it does everything that it used to do. It just doesn't do it as well. Yep. It no longer does it to the level it used to, and that's because the thing can be resisted.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, some of these weapons have a lot higher accuracy requirements than the runes do. I've been testing the accuracy runes, and for Attack Mirror's Palace, you need 175 on your character to make sure that the Bloodthirsty Axe bleed applies. You also need that to have your skills attack. These weapons actually require more. So
and not to worry, you can get that if you have the Eagle Owl set, your gloves leveled up, and then just the plus 10 accuracy on one subs out in any gear, and you can achieve that number.
Right, but I don't know.
Not a difficult thing to get.
Right, I don't know what the numbers are yet. I got to do a lot more testing, but I can tell you that it's not too difficult to get. But Ice Dragon Saber isn't top tier anymore because of resistance. So let's go ahead and just do a quick run. It still looks cool as hell, though. I mean, it's one of the coolest things. I remember when the game first started, Celeste was rolling around with a glowing Ice Dragon Saber, and we were all so damn jealous.
Yeah, the sabers look
and of course,
cool.
Celeste figured out the crowd control thing on the Scarlet Saber, and we were like, "Why is he wearing that ugly weapon?"
Yeah, until he whitewashed everybody.
as he crushed Arena for like 6 months.
And nobody.
Sabers in Summoner's Glory are the result of somebody asking a question. Hey, can you make a sword but in a circle?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So anyway, let's go all the way to the Witch boss, and so we can kind of see. You can see that it took away all the attack bar of that guard, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. Yes, Adhocs, I do look like Merlin. And to whoever said in chat earlier that he doubts that I have that much hair, the hair is the only thing that I have left, bro.
We did say we'd get his brother on here, and he could just sort of like chat.
Right, exactly. I saw him on here.
Yeah, he was on. Yeah, he did.
He's lurking here somewhere.
Yeah, Mr. Penguin, we are rolling through the tier list of weapons, what we think about them, and how to make the irrelevant ones relevant again. And this will be posted to our YouTube channel. Don't worry. So you'll always be able to watch it, even if you can't make the actual broadcast.
Elbrisian's giving you some grief. He's put his brother's an idiot. That's what
Is he talking about himself?
Don't know. That's what he put in chat. He put Elbrisian, his brother's an idiot.
My brother is an idiot. So yeah, that's an accurate statement.
Yeah. Talking about himself.
Anyway, so let's watch the witch fight, and you can see that this thing actually is relevant against bosses. It slows them down so that you can get a turn without being nuked to death, because Queen of Horrors actually throws these fireballs at you, and if she gets too many turns, you will die. So you just saw that the attack. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, if my team wasn't 600 with a 600 character, there's no chance of surviving that. So the Ice Dragon Saber, in my opinion, is a solid S. I'd like to know if everybody thinks that it needs to be higher or lower, but I think it's a solid S.
No, it's an S, because while it's achievable to speed tune your entire team to go before any boss in the game, as far as I know, there's only a few mobs in a boat that can outspeed you. If you couldn't outspeed a boss, I think it would be still S tier, because you would put it on for boss fights, take it back off for AoE fights.
Right. Okay. So the next thing we're going to look at is that demonic staff. and it looks cool. It's another one
It
of
does look
those pretty looking things. But let's read the skills. So the first thing is it summons a magic missile to do 100% magic damage. Can anybody say wet noodle? I mean, that's the worst multiplier I've ever heard of. 100% magic damage on a character.
Lionstale, I would like for you to make an actual limp spaghetti noodle weapon for us to carry around in the game as a meme. Please, for the love of God, make it. Put it in the shop. I'll buy it.
So then the next attack does magic damage of 260. Okay, and then it applies demonic fury. Okay, what does that mean? That does 50% extra magic damage and it removes all positive effects. Okay, I'm not mad with the skill.
No.
I'm just not sure that it's, in this environment, you're ever going to need it.
But pay attention to what the 50% additional magic damage is from. It's from the 260% your character does.
Yeah.
It's from your character. So
which is already nothing. So, 50% more of nothing. Woohoo!
But it removes all positive effects. Now, it does not strip immunity, because when we had this immunity meta, we thought, okay, we'll use the demonic staff and get rid of the immunity off of Puppet, and that won't be a problem. It doesn't work. So it does strip other buffs. It does not strip immunity.
Yep.
They need to make this relevant. Well, to make it relevant in the past, all they needed to do is make it strip immunity. To make it relevant now, it needs a total rework.
A lot of
it
the
needs
weapons
to strip
do.
Alice's shields, to be honest.
Yeah.
And because of the way this weapon works, they need to redo the grimoire. And I say this is constructive. In the grimoire, in the guide, if you scroll down, there's a tab that shows you all the effects in the game. And they need to specifically list which ones count as debuffs, which ones count as control effects, or state if there are other effects that don't count as either. Because there's weapons you're like, oh, this would probably remove that. Nope, the effect that boss has is not a thing you can remove just because of how it's classified. I think this, being able to reduce or remove part of the effectiveness of those broken Alice shields would be a nice counter and make you have to swap it in when you're fighting those.
Right, and I have tested this weapon against Alice to see if it breaks her shield. It does not. So it would be nice if this thing could, affect.
And I wouldn't want to buff its damage whatsoever
No.
because you don't want to make it broken. You're getting rid of Alice's shield, but you're not getting that huge boost from the weapon we're going to talk about later. So you're sacrificing some potential damage, but you're getting rid of a shield. So I think it's finding exactly where it is if they make it apply to all of those effects on the bosses.
Right. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this thing does, and you're gonna laugh. If you've never seen this weapon in use, you're welcome. All right. So this one doesn't even look cool. It looks like a feather, and it hits like one, so it might as well look like one.
I do like one thing that it does, but it doesn't do a whole much because I don't think it stacks with other buffs you can get. If you'll notice, every time that it casts that ability, the demonic sight, it always goes to the far left phantom, which is nice that it's consistent. So watch it go off here, because I did some testing with this one specifically. See how it goes and puts the eye on Dracula? You can pick which phantom it goes onto, but 16% extra magic attack is far outclassed by other ones, so you're not getting a whole lot. It's cool. I wish it was more.
Right. If it was like a Mars defense type bonus, oh my God.
That would be awesome.
Because you put that with Merlin, and Merlin would then classify as an AoE and not just a single target nuker.
Right. Yeah. This thing has a lot of potential. It just needs to be tweaked a little bit.
Yeah, and I like that it's consistent. Okay, Lionstale, I really love that consistency in where the weapon buff goes allows me then to customize, because I can put what phantom I want it to go on the left slot, which is a theme I think needs to continue in a lot of other things. Like my Mars defense are like Raging Fury, right?
Yep.
Things like that where I know where it's going to go based on who I put here is a little bit more customizability for me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that the AI should be consistent. This thing would be great if it did, you could scale it up.
Right. You get the damage on one phantom instead of like other weapons we're going to talk about that gives everybody more damage on the boss. You just get to make one phantom for one turn do, a nuke.
Right. Well, I mean,
imagine that on a Zoe going after a boss and just bye.
Right, but think about this: if you could put Fire Thief in that spot, if it gave 250% extra damage on Fire Thief, I mean, awesome. Yes, let me use that weapon. But right now, it's just like Rexian said earlier. It's for smelting stones.
Yeah.
So
and on that point, Lionstale, if anybody is in here listening or watching later on, stuff like that, especially when you go to the arena, you wouldn't be able to really plan for what's coming at you because there could be all these different weapons somebody could show up with. Like, oh, what's their strategy going to be? Like right now, there's 1.5 strategies for fighting in the top of arena. If there were 20, oh man.
Exactly.
So if you guys listen to this and do things similar to what we're talking about, you're going to get nothing but amazing feedback because it's just going to be, okay, I actually can theory craft, instead of now where our theory crafting is, let me just think of something that's like kind of comparable to the meta, but not really good enough. That's all our theory crafting can get to right now, just because of the scalings that we found it out through testing and playing.
Right, so it's going to be a solid A.
I agree.
In the tier list, it's not going to be anything higher than that.
I think it's got the best potential for an easy change.
Right. Now the next one is going to be the Shatter Saber, and the Shatter Saber is really cool. It's not any good, but it's really cool. It looks cool. It's a saber. It's purple and glowy.
It looks cool. You got a pink dress on.
Yeah. You know what? The skin that I used. If you take off all the equipment, she has that like purplish pink kind of outfit. Mm-hmm. This thing looks really well with that. It complements it well, but that's about all it's useful for. The first skill, it does 100% physical damage, and it gives them a shadow effect. Okay. All right. I like the fact that they're coming up with other mechanics, but they're just not that good. The next skill, it gives 4 attacks in a row. That's kind of cool. Dealing 300% physical damage total, not 300% each attack. That would actually be useful if it did 1200% attack.
Right.
And if the enemy dies, it chases them, dealing other damage. That's a cool splash effect, where like if you die, it just keeps killing things. That's pretty cool.
Oh, it'd be like having shark, but in a rune in your weapon.
Right, but it doesn't work even as well as the shark enchant does.
Yeah.
And so scroll down a little bit, MB. He's busy doing the codes.
Scroll down.
So it marks these characters, and then it increases their physical attack by 6%. 6%.
Now keep
6%
in mind,
of what? 6% of 0?
Character damage already sucks. All right, so 6% of sucks is what?
Right. 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times anything is 0. It should be 600%.
Oh, for sure. This thing should allow you to stack up a couple times on an enemy and then let the character just do one, just boom, punch to them because they stacked all these shadows on them.
Right. If a fight is going long enough to stack shadows, when that thing goes off, it should be a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
Right now, it's not even a mosquito bite.
For any of the winners, Jamie, and Pazzosi, if you DM me on Discord, MBW77, and I'll send you codes to you. Sorry.
Now, if they made this weapon work like we just talked about, it could fit into the defensive style teams. Like it seems like they want to exist. Like you could stack up Merlin's new change with the defense buff he's going to get, King Arthur, different things like that, where you're trying to survive in turns because if you survive 3 turns, you're going to unleash all hell.
And the last skill is appropriate. That it's the worst skill in the game with the worst rune set. I mean, there's nothing better than getting a lethargy rune because good, I got some things I can feed to other runes.
Yeah.
I don't have to I don't have to look at the stats. I don't have to do anything. I can just.
If you're wondering what lethargy is, it's crappy slow.
It's horribly crappy slow.
Yep.
It's the first of all, you have to be hit for it to be effective.
Right.
And then if you hit it back, it wakes up, and it doesn't do anything else. It doesn't.
But it's only a
15%
15% chance, right? And that thing's already getting a turn, which we already know that if your enemy's getting multiple turns and you're not geared to all hell, that's not going to help you at all.
Yeah, you're gonna die. So, this weapon looks cool. NB, if you want to show a quick couple runs with it, it's a cool looking weapon. It has a lot of potential. It's just not there. That explosive mark should actually explode.
Yep.
Which one was it again?
And if it did that, the Shatter Saber, if it did that and it actually did 600% damage instead of 6% damage, now we're talking.
Yep.
Now it's something we can actually use.
And the shadow energy increasing the character's damage by 6%. No, I think it should rack up maybe a stacking crit rate to where you can stack it up to 100% maybe. But 6% of crap is crap.
Right. And so again, this is it's a max level weapon. It's red. It did negative damage. And that's it. That's all you're going to get.
Right now it's a glow stick. You're carrying a glow stick to a nightclub.
Right. It's if I had a black light and it was in the 70s, it'd be a good time.
Oh yeah.
So, look, we'll do one more battle, but it's suffice to say that if there wasn't another weapon worse than this one would be the worst. But there's one that's worse.
Yes.
So, that's it.
If everybody can guess what it is, though.
We can take this. We can just remove this off the screen because that weapon just makes me mad. It's just poorly designed.
Drew, that's a really good point. If that was replaced by sleep, it's a good thing you compare with Ripper. Yeah, as long as you could time it where Ripper went right after your character, yeah, that'd be more options, which is what we argue for all the time. I know Higher Standard, MBW, and we and other people argue we want more options, right? We don't want just the scaling of certain things to go up. We want everything to bring up. So then you have to pick, right? Like a buffet. That's what's going to make the game amazing again.
Let's go ahead and get into the magic staff. And let me just say, every other game you play, you want to build a poison team. You want to, Skylanders, Ace, Summoners, whatever game you play, poison is such a cool mechanic.
Oh, even in Final Fantasy, but it was called Bio. If you got Bio on you, you were toast.
And this game, for whatever reason, they just don't want poison to be relevant. So here's what we do. We give a staff poison.
A very mediocre named staff.
It's not even creative. They could have called it a poison staff and I'd have been happier. But it doesn't even look good. It's a green glob. The pixels run together. It's a terrible looking weapon. But if you watch the run, it actually makes the other team survive longer. It's like the poison is jealous and only I'm not going to let you kill me. I want the poison to kill me. So, MB, pull it up. You'll see. It actually makes the runs harder. It's like it gives them a buff instead of a debuff. It's absolutely incredible.
I mean, like Berserker.
This is
Destroyer.
Which is nuts because for this specific weapon, I don't want to change anything to make it relevant. I just want it to actually do what the description says it does because the poison aura should make this even tier with the top weapon on our tier list.
right.
Easily.
So, but if you actually watch it in action on a mid to a high level game, it does the complete opposite. Now I know that when the game in the lower levels, because I used it a little bit on server 5, it doesn't, when the resistance isn't high, it doesn't have this problem. But when you see this run, you're gonna see just how bad this weapon is. All right, so you can see it's just a green glob. It looks like my guy should be dying of radiation poisoning.
He's got a hazmat suit. It's Fallout.
Yeah, we found this stick in Chernobyl. Look at this.
Fallout 4.
Right, and so I'm all about green Death World looking weapons, but this one is just the person who designed this one did a bad job.
I have to say, I really like the effect when you first bring it down on him, it looks like, okay, this should be amazing. What?
Okay,
Like
now,
that right there? That was badass.
Yeah, that was.
right. That's really cool. Okay, so now watch the next fights, like the stronger fights, and see what it does to the other team. It actually makes me hit less. It's like the poison is bouncing my blade off or something. It's really bad, and it doesn't do anything. And when you hit it, look, I mean, the silver guy is just like laughing at me. Like what? He has been one shot by Bloody Overlord every time, and there it took me 3 hits to kill him. It's really kind of comical. Again, he's gonna go. The effect looks cool. Yeah. You know, this should be like, oh no, they're in trouble now. They all just got hit by nuclear crap or whatever. But look, it makes Bloody Overlord hit like King Arthur. Okay, let me qualify. Pre-update King Arthur because I haven't.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
But look, it took me 2 turns to kill that character. So anyway, without further ado, this is the worst weapon in the game.
Easy change to make it easily in the top 5 is if instead of when attacking a poisoned enemy, you deal 50% more damage, which if you really look into it, only applies to the character. It should make all enemies poisoned, right? As long as you land it, take 10% extra damage and are 20% slowed.
Yes,
so it could tie into a control team, but also not give you as much of a bonus damage to the whole team as like the Bloodthirsty, which we'll talk about later. So it would make it really, really viable as long as you built around it.
Right, and Oxling's right. It's doing exactly what Fire Shadow does. Fire Shadow replaces Puppet's debuff. That's why you never use Fire Shadow when you're using Puppet. And Magic Staff replaces Poison over her defense down. And so it actually makes the other team better by replacing the Puppet debuff. Yep. And so that's why that's the worst weapon in the game. And I have an enchantment tier list where I have Fire as ranked as one of the higher ones. When I update that tier list, I'm going to have to make a caveat that it's literally the worst enchantment that you can use with Puppet, but it's great in place of Puppet.
It's one of the best ones if you don't have Puppet because it's lower cost and you can get it to go right before Bloody Overlord does.
Right. Exactly.
Easily.
Okay, so now we're up to Bloodthirsty Axe. I don't have to tell anybody why I think this one's the best weapon in the game.
If you're not using it, you're wrong.
I don't.
Yeah, it's SS, and if you aren't wearing Eagle Owl with your Bloodthirsty Axe, you're not giving it the full effect. Because if you pair these 2 things together, you can do minimal work and apply bleed to every opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know, bleed is the most broken mechanic in the game in a good way. It allows you to do more damage.
Right, which is, it's not even the bleed that kills them. It's this other effect that comes with it.
Right. And so if you can land bleed every time, then your DPS doesn't have to do as hard a work to get it killed. And if you have someone like Bloody Overlord who's debuffing himself to make him stronger, and there's bleed on there.
Congrats to the winners. If you contact me on DM, I'll send them. I think I've got all of yours anyway. Sorry.
Very nice, very nice. But if you pair defense down with paralyze and bleed, nothing can survive.
Correct.
So no matter what content you're going up against, if you want to beat content that's higher than yourself, you have to use this axe. Now, you can use Scarlet Saber, and we'll talk about that, but there's only a chance to bleed with Scarlet Saber. Bloodthirsty Axe, it's guaranteed. As long as you have high enough accuracy, it will land bleed. There's no chance.
It is a very, very powerful debuff that Attack Mirror's Palace Incubus, I'll go in with Bloodthirsty Axe, 1 shot. Without Bloodthirsty Axe, not 1 shot, right? And my Bloody Overlord's nothing to sneeze at.
Right. So you want to run this Bloodthirsty Axe run?
2 seconds. I just want to send this last code. Sorry.
Okay.
Then we're all caught up.
So spoiler alert, what would I change about this weapon to make it relative? Absolutely nothing. It's already amazing.
Yeah, this is you know what? By the way, this is probably the ugliest looking weapon out of the bunch.
Oh my God, Cold Axe is so sexy. Bloodthirsty Axe doesn't go with any armor except for dragon, and dragon armor sucks and is weird looking.
Right.
It makes me sad to have to carry it.
Right. The dragon set, it reminds me of the first week that we played because that's the only set that everybody had. So everybody was wearing the same ugly outfit.
Dragon set reminds me of really crappy cosplayers.
Yeah. It's like they went to a discount store to get their stuff. Not anything wrong with that, but does bleed maybe have to be a little less effective? What do you mean, Oxley? Do you think bleed should be a little less effective? Kick him out of the screen.
Kick him out. That's it.
Okay, so to answer that
You're
question,
banned.
and if anybody on staff is watching this, we don't want this to be nerfed. We want other options brought up to the level of it, because remember, when we're going through here, we have accounts that are just, we've had months and months and months to get so strong. For a normal progressing account, this can make the difference. Like on my new server 5 account, when I got into the hard level of the dungeons, I would not have this weapon on. I use Cold Axe, and I'm like, why am I struggling to kill the bosses? I swap out this weapon, I start annihilating the bosses.
Right, and so here's the way I look at it. If we're being honest here, if you're not gonna nerf BO, then you can't nerf Bloodthirsty Axe.
No.
Right.
Instead, bring everything up to the level of Bloodthirsty Axe and give us more options. Just
Right.
like you're doing with the Phantoms. You're not going to nerf BO. You're going to make Lord of Shadows and everybody else better. You should do the same thing for the weapon. Don't nerf the only weapon that's good in the game.
Here's what's
Bring
not
all
to
the
do.
other weapons up.
What's not to do is just to, Bloodthirsty Axe is so good, make the content harder so it doesn't feel as good. Yeah, but then that makes everything else suck even more. Like, they're going to go down to F tier, which isn't even a thing.
I think that's one area.
Like, I think you bring everything else up to be equally as powerful, and then if we find out that, okay, we're all crushing it, then you give us a little bit more challenge, right?
I think that's one area they need to improve on, is weapons.
Right. So you can see with this attack that I land bleed every time, and these Phantoms don't have a chance. So I think the only one that survives my bloody overlord is probably the witch, and then she has to fight Dracula right after, and he's pretty insane too.
Oh yeah, he's not going to survive that. Yes, Gru, I agree. And I think if they made it where if you pick, just like in Raid, you can do a speed team or go second team, both are viable and both are different. I think if we have the option to make a more defense style team, I would like to see Guard Axe become like the Bloodthirsty Axe, but for defensive teams. Where it's like, if you're going defensive slow, you need the Guard Axe, and that's your go-to. If you don't have it, you're wrong. I would love that.
Well, think about this. They give Merlin a defense buff in the next update, and they make King Arthur's attack scale on defense.
Right, so it's like it's heading that way, but it's just not. There's something missing there.
Do you know what I'd like to see? Is actually runes on weapons. So you can actually put runes on your weapons to build the crit damage and stuff on specific weapons. Like you do in Final Fantasy. You can add the runes and you can sort of like add like poison and stuff like that to it.
So I'll give you guys a little insight into the development of this game. Let's call it post-collapse and before the new update.
Post-collapse.
Yeah.
So what they were trying to do originally, and if you've ever played Summoner's War in games like what MBW is talking about, there's these things called artifacts, and it's a secondary set of skill ups. They were actually going to give each character another 6 substats where you could use these things called soul stones, which amazingly morphed into something else. And those soul stones could be crafted any way you wanted. You could make them all crit damage. You could really like make your characters nuanced. Like, okay, I'm only going for speed, or I'm going for attack, or I'm going for whatever. That would have been so interesting, but I think it got too complicated and just wasn't going to work. So they went a different route. But going what MBW just said was, it'd be really good if you could customize your weapon. Now that's a whole nother, development tree that they would have to do.
And that's something that would have to come after the rebalancing of the weapons, because more would have to be relevant for make you want to invest in improving them. And I'm not going to put some cool runes and the gold cost associated with the magic staff as it stands right now.
Plus, the defense buff is a separate buff on your phantoms, not on the opponent. Curse goes on the opponent.
But it is the shields going around you. It looks like the Haley thing.
Right. It does. It does. So that's the number one. That's the SS. That's the only SS in the game. Spoiler. And it's not even close. It's miles apart.
Yeah, there's a couple of good weapons, but that weapon is so far beyond them, it doesn't really matter if those good weapons are good.
Right. Exactly. And so the next one we have is Berserker Axe. Berserker Axe pre-update was amazing.
Because that thing actually had some single target smack in it.
Yeah, and so you could actually use it, skill it up, and just use it to kill things. Now it's just a pretty ornament. So
it was always cool because if you had the Berserker Axe, sometimes it would just start going off and look like your character was on crack. Just choo, choo, choo.
Right. And the problem is what it does now is it actually sets things on fire. And in fire in this game,
burning is crap.
Fire and burning.
Go ask Fire Thief. He has it built into his arms and it does nothing.
Right. And in fact, it seems to make him worse when that thing actually applies.
Oh my God, yes.
So they got to work on the fire mechanics. There's actually a character in the game called Fire, and it's supposed to set things on fire, and Zoe is supposed to do more damage based on fire and vice versa. So I thought, hey, let me do this. Let me have Zoe go first, burn everybody, and then fire will nuke everybody. Well, they're two different mechanics, which makes no sense to me. Why would you have a fire mechanic and a burn mechanic? If
they fix the burning, Zoe Fire Thief could compete for the meta team. It'd be another insanely viable option.
Yep.
And I would love that. So if you're listening, you know what to do.
Yeah, I actually when I was building all these monsters up, and I built them. I built way too many of them.
See, burning and poison, that would work because it works on Ace, doesn't it?
I took fire all the way up to Evo 7, thinking that this thing was going to be a good supplement to Zoe, and it just doesn't work. So anyway, so Berserker has this fire mechanic. It has a splash damage mechanic. It has everything that you think would be good, but it's just not good. First of all, it does physical damage based on what your character has. So it has 200% physical damage and up to 400% physical damage. It's one of those things that they need to make the weapons do more damage than the character is allowing them. And if Fair was here, he'd say, well, that's because you guys are all using 2-star silver gear to try to get the substats. But it's not, because I have red gold star 6-star gear, red 6-star gold gear, and they still hit like crap.
Yeah, I can attest there's no amount of stats that you can pump into your characters in any way, even with the substats, even if you get to almost 100% crit with your main character, for that damage to make any difference at all.
Right. I mean, especially after the update, when you guys see how much true damage Puppeteer does, you're going to be like, man, if the weapon's not helping me with a debuff, it's a waste of time.
Correct. The weapons are only there for effect they can do, not because of any damage whatsoever, bar none. There is no mathematical argument for that.
Right. And so weapons do two things.
Now, there used to be an argument for that because Blood Peak used to be a thing. And you could, before they nerfed the HP-based damage, you could build your character in such a way to where you weren't doing Bloody Overlord damage, but you noticed your character doing some damage.
Well, I don't, I can tell you that Lust for Kills had his setup where he was one-shotting the 20 dragon boss with his character. Those were cool builds because the characters actually meant something. The weapons meant something. And that would be cool if we got back to that. So
and I'm not wanting that to come back. I think that level of it's broken as well. But you should be able to see the damage bar move on a boss enemy instead of just like, I think I hit, but there was no visual effect.
Right.
No
MD, you want to show the Berserker
Yeah.
Axe, you can see, you'll see exactly what we're talking about, which is there's little to no damage being registered. It's
And
sort
if
of
any
like
weapon
that.
in the game was going to let the character do a significant amount of damage, it should be this weapon.
Right. It's called a Berserker Axe.
Yeah. And just the look of it, it looks like it's going to chop a cow in half.
Yeah.
It's just, ugh.
Right. I feel like I'm going to get tetanus if I get hit by this thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't do any damage at all. It doesn't even give me tetanus.
You can tell anyway. As soon as it hits a phantom, it's not even moving, is it? It's like,
Look, it's hit twice and didn't do any damage at all. But going on the theme of, the design, look at that design. That's an awesome looking weapon. Look at that
it is
thing.
with the spikes as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is cool. It's got this blue, like otherworldly kind of glow.
But then you would have thought
it's
piercing damage, wouldn't it, with the spikes? That'd have been good if they'd done something like
Yeah,
that.
you would think it would do something cool. It's literally a glow stick.
Right. Like there should be another kind of build where there's a potential to build where your damage is more summoner based as opposed to more phantom based. And then this weapon would become the go-to for that kind of build. Like there's so many paths and options that are available that just we never hit, so we never use it. So basically just go straight in the bin.
It would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, lust for kills. I mean, you're absolutely right. If there was a tier list based on aesthetics, this would be a top weapon.
Yeah, a lot of the axes would be on top of this list.
But you can see, watch when it hits the boss. Literally look at the damage bar. It didn't move
Yep.
at all.
The blade
It's
is as big as her face and no visible damage was done.
Right. And so, this is it's not the lowest level, but it's certainly
It's still useless in the grand scheme of how much HP these things have.
Yeah. Again, it's good for getting smelting stones.
I would love to see a build where it's like awkward because you're using phantoms that aren't for damage, they're just to support you, and you try to make most of the damage come out of your character, and you had to have this kind of weapon. That would be really, really fun.
Well, that's what it should do.
Yeah.
Make it where if you've got a specific team, you have to use a specific weapon to sort of
Just think
boost
about
their
that.
stats.
Like we could say, okay, are you doing a control build? Are you doing a poison build? Are you doing a fire build? Are you doing an AoE nuke build? Are you doing a single target build? Are you doing a character-based damage build? That's what we want, those builds, and then different tools to make those happen. If you could do that, you would be approaching like that raid level where there's like thousands of teams you make for different scenarios.
Yeah,
As
so
opposed to
you're right. I'm working on a confusion team, so I've leveled up Queen of Chaos and Duke of Fate. There used to be a weapon that gave confusion. There's they took that away. There's no weapon that has confusion anymore. It only has stun.
And there used to be a substat on character gear that allowed you to put confusion, a chance, 12%. But it's gone now.
Yeah, I agree. So again, I agree with Oxlane. He's got a lot of good points today. That if it had a Mars defense type buff within this Berserker Axe, that thing would be going crazy.
Oh yeah, but only for the character.
Well, that's what
Like it should be only for the
That's what
character.
we were saying, wasn't it? It'd be good if you could actually mix it up where you had no choice. You had to mix your teams to get past a certain point. That'd be good.
Right. Okay, let's go on to the Cold Saber because we don't want to make this too long. But if
More
you-
editing for me to do.
It's fine.
Let's go to the Cold Saber. It's right there. And so, interesting thing about this Cold Saber is there used to be a bug in the game that if you use Cold Saber with a true set of Triumph, and so what I mean by true set was the boots would say Triumph, but they were really Cavalier boots, but they looked like Triumph. But if you found the actual Triumph, then all 6 of your stats would be lit up. When you use the true Triumph set with the Cold Saber, it would go 1,000 times until your enemy was dead. So I actually cleared Lord of Essence when it first came out. I cleared the last level in 1 round because my Cold Saber procced and kept killing everything until it was completely dead. It was the most amazing thing ever. I wish
It's
I had
like his
it.
dragon fight.
I believe-
Remember, he's trying to one-shot
We can
the
all
dragon.
agree that's broken though, right?
Yeah, it's broken, and we all wanted to use it to clear content, and we were until someone forgot to take it off their arena defense, and someone got mad, and
Oh my God.
they reported it because it hit them 50 times. So we were using it to get our crystals because when Lord of Essence came out, you could not beat it. It was unbeatable. And so if you wanted to get that last level so you could do the battle assistant on Lord of Essence, you had to beat that level. So, but unfortunately, and I won't say who it was, they left that on the arena defense. Someone made a video, reported it, and then it was nerfed the next day. And so everybody who did not yet get a chance to find that Triumph piece, because the Triumph piece only dropped inside of Ghost Vault, that one specific piece. So you had to, number one, be in Ghost Vault, and number two, you had to farm enough to find that specific piece. So anyway, that's a long aside to a short question. The Cold Saber is actually pretty cool because it doesn't do the infinite attacks that the Triumph set made it do, but it does do many, many, many attacks in a row. And this video will show you that. The problem is it does 100% physical damage each time. So it's doing no damage. It may attack 1,000 times, but 1,000 times 0 is 0. So
and the PDEF by 20% is far outclassed by multiple other things in the game.
Right. And
so it doesn't stack with any of them, so it's worthless.
Right, but you'll see, even when I hit the thing 5 times in a row and the defense is supposed to now be 0, the sixth hit does no damage. So I don't think it's working properly. So MB, you want to pull that up?
Got it.
And we'll take this time to say, if you guys like the content that J-Town's putting out on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I mean, we're working kind of hard to put these videos up, and only 10% of the people that watch the videos are actually subbed. So it would really help us out, just as a private public service announcement for ourselves, if you actually hit subscribe.
Oh, you got it.
And same to Higher Standards channel. Higher Standard is brain power, right? What I have in hype, he makes up for twice over in brains. So it would help immensely. If every person who joined the Discord in the past week and joined the game liked on our videos, we would be most of the way towards being monetized on YouTube, which would give us the resources and the reach to really help promote the game even more. So you would be doing a service to your fellow players if you just went over there and just subbed. And you can even turn notifications off, so you don't have to get my face in your inbox.
Well,
turn the notifications off. You will not hurt my feelings. You won't hurt my feelings if you turn the notifications off. I don't want my phone dinging all day either. So turn those bad boys off and watch us when you want to.
Yeah, it's your way of giving back to the videos, because right now we do all this because we love the game and only because we love the game. We're not getting anything for it. We just have a passion for Summoner's Glory.
And you can always go into our Discord where there's all the YouTubes there as well that you can listen to. There's also information that we put on there, daily builds, anything that we've sort of come up with, or little challenges we've done ourselves and thought about, which is like free to play, isn't it, on server 5. We've all picked a free to play account on server 5. 0 spend.
Yeah, and just and not to beat a dead horse, because I don't want this to turn into that. But what Gru is saying is, J-Town, MDW, and I answer questions in Discord all day, every day, and we're happy to do it. But if you ask those same questions on YouTube every now and then, that would really help us.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
Anyway, let's get back to the Cold Axe. If you go to when you go to the next battle, watch how many times this thing procs.
Bang, bang,
but
bang.
every time it procs, every time it hits, it's not doing any extra damage. If it's supposed to be reducing the defense every time it hits, okay, well, it didn't do it here. Maybe it's the last boss. If it's supposed to reduce the defense every time it hits, you would think that every successive hit would be more damage. But this thing doesn't register any damage at all, because it's based on the character's damage, and it's just not doing anything good. So it's definitely pay attention to the last boss, because I remember on that fight, it attacked numerous times, and every time it attacked, the defense didn't. It may be going down, but it didn't do any additional damage. So let's see if this thing actually. So now that we're watching for it, it's not going to do more than once, but I do know that it does multiple attacks in the last boss.
Now, this weapon was one of the hardest ones for me to quantify in my theory crafting of how to make it relevant again, because the 20% PDF down is ridiculous. It shouldn't be a stacking, but it should be 60%. But if you've got Puppet in your team, you're having the same issue as using the fiery. You know, it's you're having two things that don't stack overriding each other. So I think that an entirely new mechanic would have to be brought into this weapon to make it relevant. Unfortunately,
now watch how many times it goes. It's still doing no damage.
That's like the 500. Remember when we attempted it on Takmir's Palace? Me, you, and Higher Standard.
And the way to make it relevant is to not add insane damage to those multi-attacks, because then it would make it broken for the arena. So I'm not quite sure how to make this relevant, how to give it something that's not already done by other things, right?
Oh,
other weapons have
mind.
slows, other weapons have freezes.
I don't mind if it gives the damage. You know what? If you get lucky proc and it's doing 500% damage 4 times in a row, good on you. That's the benefit of using that weapon. So
you'd have to have something like a King Arthur to try to counter it, so you get the endless crits. Okay, I can see that. If we get a viable counter to it in King Arthur, then I would accept doing that for this weapon.
Yeah.
See, no, there's one.
Okay, so we're gonna get into Cold Axe. Now I'll tell you the following on the Cold Axe. We don't have to watch the video, because the Cold Axe in Takmir's Palace doesn't work, because you need insanely high accuracy on your character to get it to freeze anything. So I have high accuracy on my character. It did not freeze one phantom in this entire run. So it's not a good representative video of the Cold Axe.
All right, and you compare it to the Bloodthirsty. The Bloodthirsty's bleed is not a control effect, right? It's a debuff. The freeze is a control effect, and they're in 2 different tiers of negative status effects for the enemies.
Right. So the resistance plays in significantly, and every phantom in my Takmir's Palace run resisted the Cold Axe. So I didn't get one freeze. So it did no damage and no freezes. So all my video would be telling you that it's not a good weapon.
Now there's
a
a 2-part to the accuracy, because there's accuracy pre-RNG. So even when it does not resist, it's still 30% chance to freeze. So in order to even get the chance to freeze, you have to clear the accuracy saving throw of whatever that number is. So even then, even if you get nothing but action in your character, you're not just going to come in and freeze the entire team. That may happen sometimes, but it's not enough to rely on freezing the whole team.
Right. So the Cold Axe was my favorite weapon for many, many, many months of this game. They reworked it right before the Ghost Vault update to make it actually relevant. They have changed it a little bit, and I need to go back and look at the screenshots and see how they changed it. But right now, the first skill does 180% physical damage and has a 30% chance to freeze them for 1 turn. It would be good. It'd be better if it was 2 turns.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have found a use for the Cold Axe, and that's in the Abode. I found it's helped me a hell of a lot in the Abode.
Mid-game control style, this axe can help you insanely, but it's still outclassed by Bloodthirsty.
Right. So here's what I can say about that. If your Bloody Overlord is not strong enough to kill the opponents and with the 4 hits or the 3 hits or whatever it gets for your team, then you may, even with bleed, then you may be better off using a Cold Axe and picking off the characters one at a time.
100%.
That's why I say that the Cold Axe would be better if it was you freeze them for 2 turns.
Now, Cold Axe was, I think, higher than it is. Even though it's a nice second place-ish right now, it was higher back when the damage from the, I'm having a brain fart right now, Oppression Runes. When the Oppression Rune damage used to scale really, really well, not the extra broken hits, I mean just the scaling, because now the game is scaled completely differently. Oppression used to be the meta for Puppet. This was a nice way of getting the control effects to get on the mobs, which then triggers the Oppression Runes.
Redgriff and Queen.
So that was where I loved the 2 coming together. If I had Cold Axe and Oppression, fun times ensued.
So I'll give you guys a little spoiler that Rexy and I have been experimenting with Oppression again, and Oppression is now proccing the way it used to proc with Zeus, as long as Zeus is landing paralyzed, but it does not do so for Bloody Overlord. It only procs on the target that you select. So Puppet, Oppression, and Zeus, amazing. And it does some incredible damage.
Now, I've tested on live and with Haley, and she works the way we've been used to it with Pup, where you have to get control on one or two of the mobs, and then you can get the oppression to kick off everywhere.
Yeah, if Queen
Right.
Slayer.
It's not working. It's not working for Bloody Overlord.
Sorry, I'm just going.
Right. I've put them on Bloody Overlord, but I've never noticed it work. But Bloody Overlord's damage is going to outscale oppression so hard if you use critical damage runes anyway.
Right. Nah, that's right. I use exactly. But it's just Oppression's is a fun rune set.
Oh my God. Fun story, y'all. Back when we figured out, well, Higher Standard figured this out, I was one of the first people he told that oppression did some crazy cool stuff on Puppeteer. He took me out in the middle of the desert. And he says, hey, come here, watch this. And he showed it to me, and I dropped my phone. I was just floored. I'm like, holy crap. And from then on, it was like, that's what you do. You get a pup, you get oppression runes, and you go have fun.
I remember that. We were on somebody's stream, and
Oh my God, it was
I
amazing.
posted it in chat, and J-Town immediately chimed in. That's not true. That doesn't work. I said, join my squad. And we went out into Fanir Fang, and I showed him, and he was blown away. And then you know, the rest was history. They did everything in their power for the next 6 months to try to get rid of oppression runes, but
Glitzmutch,
it is what it
are
is.
you Queen Slayer? Sorry. Getting these
okay, no worries.
codes out, you see.
So anyway, you're not going to have video proof, but everybody who's played the game, you know that Cold Axe is an S tier weapon. It's right there with Ice Dragon. It's right there with Magic Eye. It's a solid weapon. So unfortunately, we don't have the video proof because Takmir's Palace is where I did all the testing, and there's too much resistance.
Cold Axe is one of my favorite looking weapons in the game. When you fully level it up and gets that glow, when you have a blue style armor on, it looks cool. Giant
Actually,
long
you know what?
handle
Why don't you,
axe.
yeah,
The way
why don't
you carry
show
it when you run around.
You mean like this?
Yeah, show the video of that's it. See how good that looks?
Yeah,
That's
I love that weapon.
Yeah. That's
Especially when you
what
run
is.
with it, it looks like you're just going to do some icy goodness.
Yeah, but it's just that you can't just say it's like pure sexy, that thing. It's like that's strapped on your back. Nobody's going to really mess with you, are they?
Yeah. I love
Right.
that weapon. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a great looking weapon.
This makes me sad that when I have to unequip it to put on a Bloodthirsty, I'm like, the Bloodthirsty looks so dorky.
Well, this weapon fully skilled up with the red T1 gear looks amazing.
It does look good, does all of that. That's what I was saying when I had it all on there.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next weapon, which I think is Scarlet Saber.
Yeah, give me a sec.
Scarlet Saber used to be the creme de la creme, the best that there was. You'd stack control effects on all your substats. And, you know, if you didn't get freeze, stunned, paralyzed, or slowed, something was wrong with your team.
Yeah, for anybody who did not play the game before the update, there used to be a different kind of substat called tactics. That there were slow tactics, paralyzed tactics, stun tactics. There were substats on your gear, which gave your summoner a 12% chance, if you got the legendary version of it, to land that debuff, that control effect. But they didn't stack. The key was you get every single one of the tactics on your substats. You equip this thing, which used to have insane speed. You go first. You're definitely going to land some control effect, and then your puppet and oppression is going to clean up. And it was just the most fun thing ever.
Right, and if you not to overly pump my YouTube channel, but I have a video where I was showing how broken it was, and Celeste was kind enough to duel with me over and over and over. And I had just gotten King Arthur. I fully skilled him up. I had the best runes in the game, and Celeste was making me look like a noob. It was insane.
That was funny
So
video
if you
to watch.
want to watch, if you want to watch a fun video, and it really was fun, I got my butt handed to me over and over and over, and it was because of this weapon. And so this weapon, while not as good as it used to be, is still really good. It attacks.
I think I remember hearing you rage when that was going on, man.
I did.
Yeah, you know, it made me mental because
It made you give up on Arena for a good long time.
I didn't play Arena for 3 months because
Yeah.
I knew I couldn't beat Celeste, and then Danny and Deja and everybody had the same thing. and they all got the better rolls than I did. And I just was like, you know what? Arena's not for me.
Yeah.
let me go build 1,000,000 Phantoms instead.
Which is why the arena hatred, the love-hate relationship has existed, because it's always been one thing. It's been a different thing, but it's always been one thing that will win you arena, not multiple options, one thing.
Right. And so now I don't do arena at all. If you've checked mine, I haven't done arena in 3 weeks. It's because I have the fastest clock and I have all the speed subsets, and nobody can go before me. So you can't beat me.
Yep.
So
I have like the 3rd or 4th highest clock in the game, and I can't touch them because I would have to literally 2 more runes to god roll, and I can't get them. So I'm literally locked out of the top 4 to 5 spots in arena.
Right. So I don't do arena anymore. I'll do arena when they do 2 things. When they make it more diverse.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 3 things. When they make it more diverse, when they change that swapping mechanism where you replace whoever you beat, and they buff the number of rune books you actually get. If you win arena and you win every tower for the entire week, meaning you sweep all the PvP content, you get 4 books. You get 4 runes. And every rune I've crafted has been a 3-star.
Yep. It's still a chance of getting a really crappy one, even if you get all those rewards.
And I did.
And the 3-star had flat, and the 3-star had flat stats. So
Yep.
I didn't even bother rolling it. So
He literally got a balled up piece of notebook paper for his efforts.
right. So I don't even bother. I used to make sure that I was somewhere I could do the arena right before it closed. I don't bother now. But
If
anyway,
devs are watching or listening, what we're not asking for is we're not asking for you to nerf or buff any content, right? Not to change the way the damage scales so that things are more resistant to it. We want diversity, right? We want other phantoms to come up to Bloody Overlord. We want other weapons to come up to Bloodthirsty Axe. We have multiple things to pick from. And then if you think we're destroying your content, then take the content up a little bit. That's what we're asking, right? Not to take one thing and scale things based off one thing. Bring everything up so we have variety. So even if the content may not seem quite hard enough, there's all this theory crafting and choice that we have.
Well, we did ask
right?
for
Because
that.
if you're just going to keep it to where there's only one meta, I don't care where the scaling goes. If I only get to pick one team, it's like log in, get my one team, build them, stay there, and fight while you do this. But if I had lots of choices, this could fluctuate, but I have all this choice to go around. You know, it's so much more engagement, more cerebral. That's our desire above anything.
Well, we did speak to him about the arena on test, didn't we? And we sort of suggested that they made it where you had all your different tiers. So you started off on the silver, bronze, platinum, and went all the way up. And that's something that we're going to look
I
at.
totally agree with that. But right now, there's not a
And
counter
by-
to a fast
and
clock.
by the
Nothing
way-
can counter clock.
by the way, doing arena for the potential to get runes is a fool's errand, because you have to win 53 weeks in a row to be able to craft a 5-star rune. Why would you do that? Why would you do it a year and a month?
And that's if.
I mean, a year and a
And that's
week.
if you can
A
land
year
it.
and a week. Yeah, to do one rune. So that's
Keep in
kind of-
mind, anybody who's watching this or watches it later on, nothing we are saying is we're bashing this game at all. We love this game. We're going to keep playing this game. Everything we're saying are ideas that could make it even better. That's
and
where
that's
we're
why
coming from in all of this.
Yeah, that's why the title's theory crafting, because we're trying to find ways to make this thing better.
Yeah, so these are all just suggestions for way it could be more awesome, not just like, oh, it sucks because of this. No, it doesn't suck. It's still awesome despite this. Do this, and it'll be even way more awesome. I already play it like crack now.
So do I. I think we all do.
You give me all that variety, I'm gonna I have to go to work. Damn it!
Yeah, El Rizian says there's only they'd only have one tier. No, they'd have Gru, and who else is on 4?
My alt's over there, but I haven't played him in a while.
Yeah. Anyway, after this run, MB, can you just put up Scarlet Saber
Yeah.
so we can see kind of what that looks like?
We
Well,
are
not
watching
Elysium,
it.
they are
We've
merging
been
1
watching
through
it.
4 in the future.
No, that's Shadow. That's
Oh.
Shadow. That's not.
we know
Scarlet.
we don't know the
movie.
date, but we do know for a fact 1 through 4. They're just working on the details. Are merging into one server, so there will only be 2 servers once that happens. There'll be the new Mega server and then the Hades server that recently started.
And Trim, about your gold, you know, if you saw the heated discussions we have in the test server chat, you would it would make you blush.
Yes.
But let's just say that there's a difference of opinion between the players and the devs, and we scream the loudest and the longest, so we hope to win.
And we even put it in writing, didn't we?
Keep in mind, though, all of that yelling and criticism and passion and stuff, we keep to that channel. So you're never going to see it because this is not who we are. But please believe it is being argued.
We're trying to do everything we
people
can.
have slammed their phones down and stopped talking for periods of time based on the way those conversations have gone.
Ad hocs, we're gonna finish this up pretty soon, not too much longer. So, but yeah, so we try to be constructive, but sometimes we have to be forcefully constructive. There are things about the new update that I hate. They are increasing the number of skills on 9 different phantoms, which means you need more skill phantoms. Well, what has been missing from the game since the update? Skill phantoms. And so I don't need all my phantoms skilled up right away, but I do need the ability to get a skill phantom or 2 here and there. So there are things that need to be improved, and gold is one of them. So
yeah, Gru, we're leaving that in the tester, Rod. You'll never hear me bring up a detail of it outside of that chat. So I'd like to keep it all in there, please.
Yeah, for sure. And anyway, so just to answer Trim's question, we are working hard on the gold thing.
Yeah.
And you know, there are other things. There are the vigor, gold, vigor, books. You know, I've said many times. You know, diamonds, vigor costs, books, and gold. Yep. Those are 4 of the big things that we.
And I can speak for the 3 of us. We read and scour the Discord many times a day. If you write it on the Discord, I guarantee you the 3 of us all have read it. So we're hearing what you guys are saying. We're actually coming to them almost like Congress. We're representatives, and hey, I heard this guy say this, and I heard this guy say this. So those stuff do get brought up in test server chat. Do not worry. And also, as of late, I've seen a lot of the community engagement staff in the Discord from Lionstale really, open up and listening to suggestions. The only thing is, if you're going to make a suggestion, you got to make it very succinct and straight to the point, right? If you want to get it heard, you got to get it, And
then, for any of you,
I get that, Trim. What Congress should be, not the crap that they are now.
Yeah, but by the way, the publishers and developers, they're actually trying now.
Yes.
So, I want to caution you guys. They are doing what you ask. So make sure you ask for something that's not stupid.
And to help them out. I mean, anybody that
everybody's asking for a Bloody Over nerf, except for the people that invested in Bloody Overlord. So what do? They have to buff everything, which screws up everything. Just, be careful. Be careful what you ask for. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Anyway.
You got to do things that are appropriate and think about the intended consequences. Because I've actually, and I'll admit this to you guys live on stream, kind of like a first stream revelation, a little bit of woo. I actually do believe if we went backwards in time, not now, I believed in a Bloody Overlord nerf, but a slight one. I actually did some calculations and I found an appropriate nerf to him. Unfortunately, we're already past the point of no return, though, because the content was scaled so high that you only have a few options for DPS now.
Okay, so let's go to the Dragonfire Axe. The Dragonfire Axe is an interesting one. It actually looks like a stick in a shell. So
a lollipop.
Yeah, Dragonfire Axe is ugly.
Yeah, it's a poor design.
In a good way, it looks like something out of Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
If you like the aesthetics of Monster Hunter, where everything's made out of the crap you kill.
Right. It looks like I killed a Ninja Turtle with a thing of spray paint. So I'm not a big fan of this one. It does some damage. It sets some things on fire if I remember correctly. It has a chance to set things on fire, and we already know that fire is not a good mechanic. And so let's just do a quick run of this one. I can tell you that it needs a complete overwork. There's not a lot we can do to suggest to make this one better, other than make burn work.
Yep.
Or combine burn and fire and allow the character skills like Zoe and Fire to actually interact with the weapons, because
Yes, they need to make fire and burning into one thing called burning.
then it would be okay.
And this axe, the way to change it to make it relevant, I've thought about this a little bit, is that when you counterattack and you do the AoEs, you actually cause the burning to flare up for a noticeable amount of damage. So the damage you get wouldn't be coming from the axe in a physical way. You'd make those burns just flare up and they get like this cast and you could see a chunk of their health come out. That would be cool.
MB, do you have any more codes?
Yes, yeah, I have. Okay, I've got to wait for the YouTube video and then I can put some on. But while we're watching this video, I actually did all the drop rates. I spent an absolute ton of hours putting all the new drop rates for all the books, all the experienced phantoms, everything. So if you go to the SG Trio podcast Discord, it's in there, and you'll see every single drop rate for gold books, where your highest ones are for silver. And it's quite interesting, actually, to be honest, when you sort of look at it. I mean, Essence isn't on there yet because it's not open, but come the weekend, I'll fill that bit in.
Yeah, so we're trying to put some good, useful resources inside the SG Trio Discord, so that it's just not us three, spitballing and talking. That's a lot of it, but we actually want to provide something useful for you guys. So we do have access to the test server, and we're trying to use that so that we can actually provide something to the community. So if you like that kind of stuff, head over there. And we're not trying to replace the official Discord or anything like that. That's not our point. Our point is to be kind of a place you can go for certain resources.
Like a central hub, really, for everything that you want to do SG. It's all going to be there. But if there's anything that you want to see or any specific builds, you know what I mean, you can always just ping it on there and then we can sort of like build it, or any ideas. I quite enjoy it.
Right. Yeah, it's fun. It's another way for me to be more of a nerd than I already am. So.
Right, and we wanted this podcast, to be more a platform, more ways to get in touch with Summoner's Glory, right? Because between waiting for certain streamers, we wanted this to be a weekly thing. I'm looking forward to the hour or two conversation about Summoner's Glory, just to just like you listen to your favorite radiocaster or your sports center type folks, like, okay, this week we're going to talk about what's going on in sports, whatever. This is your place for that for SG.
Hey, look, I'm really pleased that you guys taking the time out of your night to hang out with us for a little bit.
100%. I agree with that 100%. You guys spending your time with us means everything to us, because for a long time, it was just us hanging out together in SG, hoping that we get people. And now we got a family. So you guys being with us literally makes us happy in our personal lives. Like, you not know how ecstatic I am this last week with Summoner's Glory.
Right. So, okay. So let's do the last weapon. It's called Bloodthirsty Saber. You would think with a name like Bloodthirsty that it would actually be comparable to the axe. It's not.
They should just call it the Thirsty Saber, because it wants something bad.
It needs and it wants something that it can never have. So it's only thirsty. And so MB, you want to go over the skills?
Yeah, you got Bloodthirsty. Bloodthirst level 1, attacks one enemy with a saber and deals 100% physical damage. You got Shackles of Possession, attacks one enemy and deals 250% physical damage and a 25% chance of stunning them for one turn. When hitting the ground, deals 60% physical damage to all enemies. What else is on here?
Well, in other words, it jumps up in the air, makes a big show, and doesn't do anything.
This weapon is when your 7-year-old daughter says, "Look at me, Daddy, I learned to do a cartwheel." And you say, "Good job, honey." That's Bloodthirsty Saber.
Or when I have a 6-year-old, when he decides he wants to be Spider-Man and he jumps off the couch onto something and lands on the ground and you think he broke his ankle. That's what this weapon looks like.
That's like my 8-year-old that sort of runs around, that you've seen quite a few times running around upstairs. Boom, 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 boom. It's like, okay.
Exactly. So why don't we show, this one actually has an interesting look to it. The weapon itself is crap, but the but it looks cool. It actually has a cool mechanic. Your summoner jumps up in the air, looks like a ninja, and when he lands, nothing happens.
Yep. It's got crappy multipliers, a crappy stun chance, and a mediocre percentage on a life steal that's not necessary because if you're stealing life, you're going to lose the fight
I think
anyway.
you're being too kind when you said mediocre then.
Right.
Well, 35% on a life steal is average for the game if you compare to other life steals. That's pretty average, but all the other multipliers on it are garbage.
Now, look how cool this mechanic is, though. What's the character? She jumps up in the air. Isn't that cool? Just to sum up kind of what I think of the tier list, and I'm definitely wanting to hear everybody's comments if you think that I'm wrong. The only SS is going to be Bloodthirsty Axe.
Concur.
The only S is going to be Scarlet Saber, Ice Dragon Saber, Cold Axe, Magic Eye Staff. The last tier is going to be Magic Staff, and everybody else is going to be in the A category. Is that about summing up?
Yep, definitely.
Yep.
Back.
And for the Thirsty Saber, this is another one where I have difficulty thinking about what I think could possibly make it relevant. Did you guys have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, when it lands, something should happen.
But that's the thing.
Right, but what that thing is, though, because character damage sucks. So unless you're getting an effect from it, like the solution to Bloodthirsty Saber is like making character damage relevant again, which is a broader subject.
When she lands, they should all fall asleep, or there should be a chance that they all go to sleep.
The thing is, I mean,
or...
some of the weapons have got awesome sort of like, characteristics.
And
stuff.
that effect doesn't go with the name Bloodthirsty. Like when I think of like you jumping up and slamming the ground and putting things to stun, I don't think Bloodthirsty.
No, exactly.
Oh, look,
and...
freeze! In Takmir's Palace with Cold Axe. So you're proven wrong, higher standard.
Well, you also have T1 gear.
I'm just awesome.
And what set of T1 gear is that?
I can't remember. I'll have to have a look.
MBW has.
Look.
There's a difference between the 2-star Eagle Owl that I have and the T1 gear that isn't out yet.
Hey, look, I was just proving a point like I did with Pup when you all said,
I
broken.
No, I agree.
Pup's broken. And I was like, well, I'm procking.
I think that you can absolutely use the Cold Axe in Takmir's Palace, not with the setup that I have, which is why I didn't show the video.
I will show you. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to run, to see whether or not I could.
Yeah, and by the way, anybody who hasn't seen it yet, this is the new first boss inside of Takmir's Palace.
Yes.
They went away from the awkward looking 2 guards on the sides, and they actually have a full team now. So,
I'll show you the axe. I'll show you literally. I don't even think. I think it's when I crafted. I think it's when I crafted it.
Lust. I think that's an interesting idea. I'd have to think about that. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I'm wearing the.
Yeah, show me what gear that is.
So I'm wearing brutal obsidian cuirass. That's what I've got.
Okay, so what is that? That's crit rate.
So that is crit rate plus 8%, magic attack plus 40%, speed 12%, and.
Okay.
All right, so I have to point out though
that's
that even though you're seeing somebody on a test server wearing that gear maxed out, that's going to be your wet dream, not your life goals, because you're probably not going to achieve that for long time. Getting that gear, according to the developers, is supposed to be like the old chances of getting Zoe.
And if you look, it's a legendary
Supposedly.
6-star. I actually managed to craft a Cold Axe legendary 6-star pink. And it's fully.
So
It's
when
not even maxed out yet. I've only got to plus 17 because I ran out of the legendary reforged stones for it.
Right, and those things are more rare than the equipment themselves.
Yeah.
So
But I got good ally speed though.
that's pretty good. Wolflaw, the answer is we're not going to have a specific trio YouTube channel. We're going to put these videos on J-Town's YouTube.
I'm going to have a separate playlist. You can find it on my channel, and I'll advertise both of the videos on the Discords. So I'll post my own personal videos, and then I'll also post the SG3 videos. And the logo for SG3 will be on those videos, so you won't confuse them. You'll know exactly what video you're looking at.
But I do have to say, though, thank you very much, all of you guys, for taking the time out of your day to sort of like come and support us on our first SG Trio stream. Obviously, it was a a new learning curve for us of how we were going to do it, and I know we've had a few teething problems, but it's been an amazing night, to be honest. I've loved every single minute of it.
It's been a lot of fun. We appreciate you guys stopping by.
Not much I like better than hanging out with really awesome people and shooting the SG stuff, just nerding it up. So thank you all for joining us.
Right, and so we're gonna end the first podcast right here.
Thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts. This literally, this kind of stuff makes my night, my week. Thank you all so much. I look forward to talking to you on Discord and seeing you in game.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow us, because obviously I'll be streaming over the weekend. I'm sure J-Town will. So we'd like to see you in our streams. And if you've got any questions, like I said, just catch us up on the Discord and sort of leave us any comments.
Yeah, we are taking suggestions for other podcasts. So if you guys have something you guys want us to talk about, something you want us to explore, just hit us up, let us know. We'll be happy to.
Yeah, even if it's a build or a team you want to see, or elemental towers, you want a specific build, but you've only got these phantoms. Yeah.
Or if it's a request for what picture is in place of Higher Standards face.
Yes.
You can take a poll, and each week it could be something cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't get more cooler than that, but I'll try next time. So. All right, that's going to be it for this episode.
But thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you.
And thank you to my wonderful co-hosts for being here tonight. It's been awesome. Couldn't do it without either of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was fun, guys. That was fun.